welcome to our 5-minute moment, our Eat, Learn, Celebrate moment here on our Twitch stream. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching on YouTube. My name is Chef John.
I'm Chad Cooper.
And in this series, we cover some, well, what we as chefs consider to be pretty simple stuff, but for home cooks who are wondering, we've done eggs, different ways, and we've done salad dressing, and now we're going to get into making breadcrumbs.
So that we can get lost in the forest.
So we can get lost in the forest, you can always find your way back home. Now, something that's interesting is I never really thought about it, but my mom would always buy breadcrumbs. She'd always have it on her list. She'd always have that can of breadcrumbs sitting there. And then when I was in school, we learned how to make breadcrumbs, and I remember thinking, well, that's cool. You make breadcrumbs
from bread?
From bread, right? But I guess my question is, to you, Chad, as somebody who is at home, is it a convenience thing, or what, in your mind, would you go shopping for breadcrumbs specifically over making them yourself?
Honestly, just a disconnect for thinking, I have this old bread, not stale, but bread that I could turn into breadcrumbs, versus I need breadcrumbs for this recipe. I'm going to get breadcrumbs.
Right. And then something else that's really interesting is, especially for a lot of moms out there, like my mom used to cut the crusts off of my sandwiches.
I love the crust.
You love the crust? Okay. But for a lot of moms out there, how many of your young ones want the crust taken off? And then you're thinking, what in the world am I going to do with these crusts? You don't want to throw them out. That's valuable stuff. Or maybe you've got a certain Mr. Someone in the house who won't eat certain slices of bread out of the loaf, and leaving all the other slices behind. Again, let's not ruin those, right?
No.
We don't want to throw them out. So what you do is grab all of your scraps, or even just slices of bread, put them in the freezer. Next time you need to make meatloaf or hamburgers, or maybe you're going to make your own chicken nuggets or something, so you're going to be breading them in breadcrumbs, just grab the bread out of the freezer. You can put it in the oven at about 350 or so Fahrenheit until it dries out. So I've got some bread here. It's regular old store-bought bread. Right now, it's just the whole slice. I'm going to do the whole thing. You could do just crusts. You could take the crusts off. You could do it all together. Then, I've dried it out in the oven. I've got a food processor.
Yep.
You can use a blender. What I'm going to do is break up the bread into tiny pieces, tinier pieces. Pop it in here. And then we'll hit go on the food processor, or if you've got a blender at home, you can use a blender at home. And depending on how fine you want them to be is how long you have it for in the food processor or in the blender. And if you want to make it even finer, remember, Chad, you were asking about fine, you can run them through a sieve, colander. What we're going to do is let that go.
And this is when people refer to blitzing.
This is blitzing. And even now, in just this short amount of time, we're starting to get crumbs.
Yeah, there's still some pieces, but that was 10 seconds, if anything.
Yeah, and honestly, it all depends on what it is that you're doing with your recipe. Maybe you don't want them to be that fine. Maybe you want them to be
more coarse.
More coarse. For example, you could then take some of these more coarse ones, put them back in the oven, dry them out, and then let's say you're making spaghetti with meatballs, toss some of them on there, you get some nice crunch.
Or when you're making the meatballs, I know a lot of recipes will require breadcrumbs in the meatballs. So depending on the size of your meatballs and what you want the texture, you could adjust that yourself.
Absolutely. So there you go. It's as simple as that. And I know my mom used to buy flavored breadcrumbs. You can put the flavoring in, and that way you know exactly what those flavors are. So Italian, you might want to maybe put some oregano, some parsley, some basil, something along those lines.
It allows you that option to season as you like and for the recipe that you're making.
Correct. Yeah. I know, Chad, you asked, what kind of bread? Any bread. I can't think of a bread that I wouldn't use. And in all honesty, actually, this is gluten-free bread that we had in the freezer. So this is gluten-free, so I've just now made gluten-free breadcrumbs.
And then once you've used them for the application that you were making them, would you just be able to freeze them back in the freezer, Chef?
Yes, I would recommend freezing them so that they don't continue to go stale. So we covered making our own breadcrumbs today, because at home, that's what we do. We have bread in the freezer. We don't buy croutons. We don't buy breadcrumbs. Whenever the recipe calls for croutons, we make. Whenever it calls for breadcrumbs, we make. What we do is we take out the slices of bread, put it into the oven about 350 or so it dries out. Then tear it up, put it into a food processor or a blender, and then blitz until we have the desired size of crumb that we need for whatever recipe it is. that we need. So especially for all those busy parents in general who are cutting crusts off, save those crusts. Turn them into breadcrumbs.
It's a great way to save money, especially in these times, and add it how you like.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to our Eat, Learn, Celebrate moment, our 5-minute moment here on our Twitch stream. If you want to check out our Twitch channel where you can get into the heat of the action where we're doing all kinds of really cool things, then go ahead and click the link. Thank you for watching on YouTube. I'm Chef John.
I'm Chad Cooper.
And have a good rest of your beautiful day.